All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Sports Card Madness. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm here with LZ, and we are on board with Rick Probstein. He is the CEO of Probstein Auctions. Rick, welcome to the pod.
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks for
doing good,
joining us.
Rick. Yeah, thanks for
So,
joining.
Probstein Auctions has to be one of the largest
Oh,
sellers or
It's Probstein, just so.
Probstein. Oh my goodness.
If
Thank
I
you,
if I had a nickel for every time it's mispronounced, but it's Probstein.
Probstein. So
Yeah.
you guys must be one of the biggest sellers, consigners on eBay now, right?
Well, yeah, we're the largest seller in eBay.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
by far. There's
by
nobody
far.
that's yeah. Well, I think we're more
Wow.
than double the second place guy.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
How did this, how did you start all this? So it seems like I know you had a recruiting agency sort of back in the day, and it seems like you've been a collector for a while, but how did you get into
Yeah,
this
so I
thing?
did I did cards as a kid. I made $35,000 when I was 11 years old trading cards. So I've been doing it my whole life. I took a break when I was in college, but I did sell cards when I was in college to pay for my expenses. And then after college, I was working in camp and sports and high school stuff, and I was still selling cards. And then I started a technology company, and then I sort of stepped away from cards for like 4 or 5 years, and then I got back into it again after that. That's when I was headhunting.
How did you make that much money as an 11-year-old kid?
I mean, every
Please.
weekend
Yeah.
so I grew up in Delaware, which was a great location. It was central to sort of Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlantic City, and every weekend I would do a card show and basically would make 1,000, 2,000 hours every weekend, and I would buy and sell and trade and flip and just that's how I did it.
Man. In
That's
today,
impressive.
what do you think that is in today's dollars? It's like that's like my son going out and making 100 grand. He's 9 years old.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, well, I was older than that, but
Yeah.
you know, no, but I hustled. I would run
Mm.
around we go to garage sales, and there was no internet then, so it was just a totally different world. Like you literally would go to a flea market. I'd walk around the whole flea market, and I'd pick out anybody who had anything that was sports memorabilia, I'd buy it up. The garage sales in the within 3 or 4 developments of where I lived, we would hit every single one. And I just kept buying and buying and buying. And then I bought at card shows. I had enough capital that people came to me at the card shows, and I would buy collections there and just kept flipping and flipping. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Rick, did you have any sort of mentors like back then when you were 11, or maybe a parent or an uncle or something that was kind of steering you in that direction?
No, I mean, my father would drive me around and he would
Hmm.
sit with me and we'd spend time together. But I did a lot of reading and research. I read everything. So I literally memorized the Beckett Price Guide, the thick one.
Hmm.
No, I had the whole thing memorized, and all back then there was a thing called CPU, Card Prices Update. There were monthly magazines, and I knew all the cards, I knew all the card numbers. I was just a consumer of information. So I knew what I was doing, and I didn't just do cards. I did memorabilia. I did all sorts of stuff.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Um, so fast forward to you had mentioned it at the beginning, just how you are kind of head and shoulders compared to your competition on eBay. Um, like what are we talking about from
Well,
transactions? Like,
that's largely in part to PWCC leaving the platform.
okay.
So
Yeah.
at one point it was basically Coke and Pepsi, the two of us,
Hmm.
and that was basically the only beverages that people were drinking. And now it's changing a little bit. There's a 5 or 6 more guys that are in the consignment game on eBay that are sort of stepping up to the plate, and sort of like improving a little bit. But when it was basically when it was PWCC and myself, which they've been off the platform for like 2 years now, it was us head to head. And they actually I was ahead of them initially, and then they overtook me, and they got beat. They were bigger than me when they finally left. And then when they left, it was sort of like my marketplace.
Hmm. So now that you've swallowed up all of their customers, how many transactions are we talking? Like in I don't know, a
About
weekly, yearly? What do you, yeah, what do you think?
850,000 transactions a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. And what do you have for a
And
staff?
the last 4 years, we've done over $100 million a year. The best year being $160 million.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Um, what does your staff look like when you're dealing with that many transactions?
Um, so I have a pool of about 30 people that work
Okay.
for us. I only have about 4 or 5 that know what they're doing. Um, I sort of thrive myself on developing like minimum wage people into giving them opportunities. So my two head scripters basically are actually two women that don't follow sports, and they know nothing about the sports world, but they know everything about cards. And I taught both of them everything. So it's very peculiar. When people come to the office and they're like, "That's your head scripter," and I'm like, "Yeah, you sexist, blankety blank blank."
Hmm.
What's a scripter? Is that just the copy for the
A scripter is a person who, so like, let's say, we do consignment. So we receive probably, let's say, on an average day, we get at least 100 packages come in. So we open up the packages, and we have 3 or 4 main scripters. And the best stuff will go to, her name is Nikki. And she's the one who knows nothing about sports, but knows everything about every card. So I know what she knows, meaning like I'll give one specific example. So Gaylord Perry's rookie year is 62 tops. So on 63 tops, he's actually on a rookie stars card with 4 players on it. And if you didn't know better, you'd be like, oh, it's a Gaylord Perry rookie. But it's not his rookie. It's his second card, even though it's on a rookie star. So she knows all this kind of stuff. And, I know what she knows, and she learned it and she remembers it. She's a smart girl. And she's got the whole thing down. She knows all the rookies, all the Hall of Famers, everything, every type of refractor.
Now, when someone sends in a card, when one of your scripters, are they are they going back and forth even with the customer on fees, or are you like a set price and there's no
No, no, I have
negotiation
set,
like this
I
is
set, I have set rates. We have people that give
okay.
us in the millions of dollars,
Hmm.
and we have people that are just fly in, fly out with one card. Everybody works in the same rates. I don't have any rate
Okay.
deals with anybody. Our rates are sort of like bare minimum, meaning
Mm,
like a card over $1,000, we're taking 5%.
okay.
So, and that's in the 5% that covers me, my operation, eBay, and eBay processing fees. So, um, not a lot of profit on those cards. I'm not
Mm,
praying poor. I'm okay, but we make it up on volume.
okay.
Hmm.
Um, with that sheer volume, I'm curious over the past, let's just say year,
Yeah.
what sort of trends are you seeing with the different transactions that are coming in, your consignments and what have you?
I mean, the general trend that's going on in our industry, and I've spoken about this in different, forms, previously. So some people will be familiar with what I'm saying now, but you'll have a viewership that's probably never heard me speak before. But I would
Mm,
just define the industry as what I would say, use the word polarized, meaning people are a little confused because the best of the best items that are truly, really special and rare, are setting record prices. And everything else is basically in .com stock mode, and they're freaking, falling, falling, falling. Like when I was in the .com world, I actually had 10 clients whose stock was publicly traded over $100, and then it went under $1. So
mm,
people keep asking me like, oh, how low can these base cards go? I'm like, they can keep going lower and lower and lower, and you'll be, like cards that were $2,000 are now $150. Um, so, so people who bought the wrong things, they're experiencing, a world of hurt of financial pain.
hmm
And then people who bought the right things, they're doing quite well, you
hmm
know.
Yeah, it's a great lesson. I always look for scarcity in what I buy. It's why I like vintage in particular, and I like
Yeah,
vintage signed even more.
yeah.
It's a scarce asset in most cases, and it's protected between the crazes and the ups and downs of the modern market. I mean,
So
there's
I have a lot
special
of money
modern
in that.
stuff
I have
too.
a lot of money in that kind of stuff too. And the other good thing about it is that you can protect the market, meaning like, if there's only 5 of a certain card and one pops up, you know, and you bid $100,000, nobody's going to own it unless they bid up more than $100,000. And as long as you're willing to buy the card and, possess more inventory, which, I do all the time. I have multiples of a lot of my special items, and I just, if I consider them to be gold, I'll keep buying.
Mhm.
That's interesting. You could just sort of muscle your way and kind of, if you've done it right and done it early, you can definitely control the market on rare stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, as long as you have the money.
Sure. Yeah. And the foresight, I imagine too. Yeah.
Rick, with you leveraging the eBay platform for a bulk of what you're doing, if not all, is it all or is it a bulk? Is it
I only sell on eBay.
all right? So it's only eBay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and it actually ties into even a bit of what you're saying, where there's like 4 or 5 like newcomers that are starting to make a little bit of headway, we'll say.
Yeah, there's some guys that are putting up decent stuff now,
Yeah.
you know.
So with you only being able to leverage eBay, like how much room do you have to innovate in this space and think of new creative, I don't know, things
Well,
just
I'm,
yeah.
I mean, I have a million ideas, but
Okay.
I am semi-limited on the platform,
Hmm.
and eBay within collectibles is also limited on the platform because, you know, the largest vertical within eBay is not collectibles. So, you know, if they're going to roll something out on the website, it has to also be good for eBay Motors. It has to be good for all the different verticals that are up and running. And the needs of collectibles in many cases are different than they are. You know, eBay Motors does not have a problem with people not paying for mufflers. But they do have a problem this week with people paying for Brock Purdy cards. So, they have different challenges.
Mm. Are with are you able to work very closely with eBay? Like, do you have a great relationship? I mean, you got to be one of their
Yeah, so I,
so.
I have a managed account. I
Mm,
have meetings with eBay executives. We do talk and discuss ideas. I have been out to their executive offices and met with senior people. And I know the sort of the inner workings, but just because somebody on the collectibles or the sportsman team wants to do something, doesn't mean that it's going to happen instantaneously.
right.
And a lot of times they'll know what's best for collectibles, but it's very difficult getting it implemented on the website just because there's a lot of other variables that are going on when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar platform that has a lot of moving parts.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. At
Okay.
least you have a voice at the table. That's fascinating. So, Rick, one of the things, I think this was like my first introduction to you and what you collected. I know at the National this past year, you had a framed, just sitting out, no armed guards or anything. You had a framed thing of, I think it was like 15
Well,
PSA
I'm
10 and
people know not to mess with me, so I'll jump
yeah,
over the
yeah.
table and just start.
It's like, was that
I'll get violent very quick with people if they mess with my Jordan collection.
There we go.
that was how many Jordans was that? Can you just walk through like
So
how long it took you,
I brought 31 Jordan PSA 10s to the National.
right?
We fit 30 in that frame piece.
Mm,
And my thinking at the time when I was buying them was that, listen, for me, it's sort of like, I'm all in the industry. I'm not one of these guys that's running an auction house that like takes every nickel that he's making and, puts it into, a hedge fund or something like that, or starts buying real estate. I'm all in the industry. I'm a collector. I have things that I collect, and I believe in the industry long term, and I'm all in on it. So my purchases of the Jordans, and I was sort of diversifying different things I was investing in. The main point is that if things get really bad in the industry, um, sort of like the Jordans are going to be the last to go, meaning like the most iconic cards. If they go down and have problems, then it doesn't matter where your money is. So Mickey Mantle rookies, which I also have a bunch of, Jordan rookies, things of that nature. That our most iconic cards in our industry. To me, that's a very safe place to keep money.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I've got a couple of those as part of my set. So, um, now,
Yeah.
did you actually try to get any of those a pristine label from Beckett?
Yeah, so I had a whole thing worked out, and the funny thing is that the person who made the introduction was actually cardborn. So at the National, I never met cardborn. I
hmm.
spoke to him on the phone one time, and I made a video sort of on Instagram, me joking about I'm going to take them all to the national and see if I can get a BGS, 10, which would be my dream card, which there are a bunch of them. And one of them has never come out for auction in the last 10, 15 years. They're just gone. And I know one guy who sold one, and he believes at the time when he sold it to the guy over 10 years ago that the guy had three others. So, not joking, they could literally, they could be sitting in a storage facility or in somebody's safety deposit box, and the guy passed away, and nobody knows they're there. The fact that those cards have not come out is really crazy.
Yeah,
And I'm
$1 million card.
sure if we looked at those cards, I'm sure I could pick out PSA 10s that are much nicer than them. So it's not like, oh, those are nicer than the ones now. Like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I had 31 at the time of the national. I'm like, oh, okay. This would be good for Beckett. They hadn't had great PR. Their submissions had been down. People were kicking them around a little bit. I'm like, this will be good for Beckett. It'll be good for me. It'll be good for the industry if they gave us a BGS 10. And I made a video just sort of like joking about it. And then Card Porn reached out to me saying, I'll make the introduction for you. I'll put the whole thing together and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm at the national, and he's like, okay, I'm sending him over to your booth now. I'm like, okay, fine. And we communicated back and forth, and then they basically decided not to give me a 10. And then, I texted Card Porn, and he's like, I'm sorry,
Oh. We had an ex-Beckett grader on here too, kind of anonymously telling us how the pristine works. And he mentioned it was typically one pristine label per employee per year, except for the Leaf fiasco. But it's just kind of interesting how it all works, because I'm sure, like you say, one of those is probably better than something that's already been slabbed pristine.
Yeah. I mean, they have pictures and scans of them. I would love for them to release all the scans and pictures of them so we could actually blow them up, and people could be like, oh, look at that BGS 10 with, 55-45 centering, not 50-50 centering. Like it wouldn't
Right.
surprise me in 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that's probably $1 million card, right?
It's over $1 million card.
Yeah. And PSA 10
yeah.
Jordans is 150 right now.
No, they're more than that now.
More? What,
Yeah, they're
250?
more. No, I would say right now anywhere between like 185 and 210, depending upon how
Okay.
nice they are.
Yeah.
Somewhere that's really the sweet spot of where they're at right now.
Yeah, so that's, it's 5-6x, which is pretty insane. So
Yeah.
what's the next craziest thing you've got? So you've got 31 PSA 10 Jordans.
No, I got one.
Any other cool sets, or like what are you most proud of?
I have a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a Babe Ruth rookie and a 7, which is a big card.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I paid 3.25 million for that. I have a lot of stuff like that. I have a big collection.
What's your most favorite thing?
So I enjoy things that are like really, really rare and special. Like I have a Thai Cobb back card with the, it's a T206 Cobb with the Thai Cobb smoking tobacco back, which is part of the Lucky 7 find. I like stuff like that. I have like 2 of the 752 Jackie Robinson signs. I have the highest graded Bill Russell rookie signed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's an 8.5, right?
No, it's a 6.510 auto.
Wow.
What people have to understand about these vintage cards that grade high with the autos is that when I was a dealer in the early 80s, it was taboo to get them signed. So if you got a card signed, you were destroying the value. Then it became sort of like industry-wide acceptable that you could get cards signed. Okay, so that started happening, but nobody was willing to take their best, their nicest card and get that signed. That was considered lunacy. So a lot of these guys that passed away before the trend happened. So at this year's past national, Lou Alcindor was signing his rookies. So just now, right, people are willing to crack out their 9 and have it witnessed by PSA, and now they can go for like a high grade, card and an auto at the same time. But that's only a recent thing. So anybody who's really who passed away 5 years or more ago, there's really no inventory of high grade cards that are signed. And you can also,
Interesting.
by the way, if you look out, you can make money because a lot of times you'll see a card that they just graded authentic, and the card grade is a 10, but they just didn't grade the condition of the card. There's nothing wrong with the card. So you could buy the card and be like, oh my God, that's a near mint card.
Yeah.
So there are examples that, do exist. Like you could pick up a Mini Minoso 52 tops, which is now a Hall of Fame rookie, and somebody actually graded an X-Mint card because it wasn't that valuable of a card. And that might be the highest graded Mini Minoso signed rookie. So there's still opportunities out there when you're looking at inventory that hits the market. You can look at cards that are not graded and they just graded the auto and just pick up.
Yeah.
They should have graded the card because that actually would be the highest graded card in existence. And then you have something special. But I'm
Especially
too
with the
busy. I'm too busy to do that stuff. I don't spend time, I don't do that kind of stuff. I
Mhm.
just wait till I see the cards I want. I swoop in and I get them.
Swoop in and grab them.
love it.
I'd like to pivot a bit.
Sure.
With you being such an expert on the eBay side of things, we've done a couple episodes where me and Nick, the novice when it comes to leveraging eBay, have like given our advice to our audience on just some tips and tricks with listing or even buying. So I wanted to kind of get into that a bit. I guess what would be some of your top recommendations you would have for someone who's starting out selling on eBay? Lessons learned, things like
I mean,
that.
I could write a book on it. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I'm
want to ask
sure
me
you.
something specific?
I'm sure you could. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's.
I mean, the
focus.
general principle is just try and treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we run a very big operation. When somebody asks a really, really stupid question, we will not reply. Meaning like, let's say it's an Albert Pujols card numbered to 99, and the guy sends 3 messages. Is this his jersey number? And we've scanned the front and back of the card. You know, we're not going to stop what we're doing to, answer people that just aren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody who's like, you're charging $5 in shipping and they're like, well, I pay $4.50 with so and so. Like those kind of things we don't give any energy to. But in general, we'll reply to as many messages as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was much smaller and it was just me replying to everything, I could stop what I was doing and go give people, I could take out the 69 Lou Alcindor at the time and say, okay, the crease is really just a wrinkle. It's not a paper crease, meaning like a wrinkle looks like a crease on one side, but it doesn't break the paper. So if you turn it over, so you can hold the card and help the guy. We do the best we can with these things, but when you're a much smaller operation, you have an advantage of giving more and better customer service. When you're starting out, there's no reason why you can't answer every single question. But
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's a big seller on eBay, they will know exactly what I'm talking about, that you're inundated with some questions that are just like, ridiculous.
Yeah. I know you. I follow you. I follow your socials. So Rick is actually a really good follow. And from time to time, he does share some of the crazy questions and requests that come in. I saw your I think it was your Valentine's Day one last week. It was hilarious. You can either share that story, but I did want to ask you, like, what are some of the crazy obscure requests, emails that come in? The Valentine's Day one's a good one, but what?
Oh, we have, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
great. Hold on, was that the one with the 25 replies, or that was a different
It
one?
was the Larry
No,
Bird,
no,
like Valentine's Day
the
gifts
real
one.
romance, a lot of
Yeah.
romance in that
Oh, with the
relationship.
blonde mustache.
Yeah,
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 with
yeah.
the blonde mustache.
I mean, that really gets you going, right? I mean, there's nothing more that gets you in the mood than the blonde mustache.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, there's stuff like that that happens every day.
Mm.
Most people when they ask a question or they're engaging, they don't necessarily think about the other side. Like, I'm not your librarian, okay? Meaning like I'm running a real business, I'm working, so it's not my job to research the prices of your cards and tell you what your stuff is worth. Okay? We
Oh,
get it all the time. I
wow.
get 10 of them a day. Like, oh, I saw you so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me what my blank is worth? You know, and we actually, even our consigners, we have 4,000 consigners that are active with this. We will actually never tell anybody an estimate on a price. I will never tell anybody, oh, I think this card will sell for XYZ. And there's actually a legal issue with that.
Mm.
Meaning, if I tell somebody that a card is a $3,500 card and the card sells for $2,900, okay, and they don't feel that I did everything possible to market their card, they could actually sue you in court and they will most likely win. Okay. Most people don't know that,
Wow.
but there's legal issues with this stuff. We actually will never give any of our consigners a quote on what a card will sell for. The only thing I will tell them is I'll say, listen, and it depends on the price point of the card. eBay is the largest platform. It does more money than all the auction houses combined by far. It's not even close. And we're the largest seller on the platform. And we do have a history of getting the most eyeballs in our auctions, and that produces the best prices typically. You have a card, it's a $10,000 card. It has a chance of making our Instagram 24 hours, and it should make email marketing. And, that's the commitment I can make for you. Now, if that doesn't work for you, I can't help you. But that we communicate sort of like what we're willing to do in terms of marketing a card. And some of the big auction houses will work that way too. Some people will give a card to Ken Golden on condition that he puts on the white gloves and holds it up and does a 1-minute video. Ken, I have this $500,000 card. If you're willing to make a video on it, it's all yours. And that's the way that people really should be thinking rather than like, because even if I told a guy, oh, I think it's a 3,300, what does that mean? Like, how do I know what the bids are going to be? It's
Right.
nonsense.
Yeah, and you don't know when the auction's going to end. Does it end on Christmas Day? Does it end,
Well, that we
it's
can control.
yeah.
I mean,
Sure,
if I
right.
if I if I if I hand an auction on Christmas Day, bad on me,
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
or in the middle of the Super Bowl,
That's true. I know we talked about time zones and how, me and LZ will like fall asleep before the end of a big auction
No,
and
I've spoken on this. They just need to get rid of the whole time zone thing. Like,
mm,
if you go and
Yes.
research when they started it, why they started it, we're done with time zones. Let's all just be on the same time zone and just
Love it.
I like
yeah,
it, man. I like it.
yeah,
So so Rick, I was kind of curious, I buy and sell on eBay, obviously not a ton, but making offers on expensive cards all the time. What do you
yeah.
think is the best strategy there? To come in at something reasonable and get a dialogue going, or just throw out like a crazy 50% off thing just to shock them? What do you think is the best approach for like the buy it now and how to attack that?
So it's very interesting you bring up buy now. I'm actually in the middle, and I've had this conversation with eBay, and they're very well aware of it. The buy it now platform within eBay has basically become like a crying wolf platform, meaning I would, first of all, 87% of all statistics are made up. So I'm saying that to you and that's made up too. Um, the majority of cards that are on the eBay buy it now side are overinflated. And some of them are overinflated by 5x, 5x, 4x, 3x, so much so that the majority of collectors are frustrated and don't even search anymore. So
Ooh.
we are actually in process of taking apart our entire eBay store, and we're not having any more buy it now items moving forward. The only thing that we're doing now, some cards need to be protected. So we are in specific instances, if we approve it, we will run a card with an opening bid, and then we will lower it by 10% each time until there's a sale. Okay. But we have had cards, and I have cards now, we've been holding for 10 years with crazy buy it now prices, and nobody's ever made an offer, and it's just bad for the platform.
Yeah.
And I think the only solution, and it's a very difficult solution to do, and I don't know how they can fully implement it, is that if you post a card in the eBay store and let's say it's up for a year and doesn't sell, and they can determine that the same exact card and the same exact grade, something completely comparable, has sold for 60, 70, 80% less, you need to lower the buy it now price to be within a certain percentage of market value, or eBay is not going to host it and allow you to take up real estate on their site and disrupt the whole platform.
That's a really
That
good
would be
idea.
tough. That would be
He-
tough.
But he's right
Yeah.
though. People use it as an advertisement for their Instagram sometimes. So
Oh, 100%.
they'll throw a Jordan rookie on there.
Yeah.
They'll put
Mm.
100 million dollars, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
then
Yeah,
they'll
no, you
put
see
like
it. You see it all the time.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And the net result is people stop searching.
Mhm.
So
right.
I have things that I collect. There's probably 2 or 3 really specific searches that I'll do on the buy it now. But on the most of the things I do collect, I don't even look anymore. Because the prices are just so exorbitant in many cases. And I think that they've done a lot of harm to the market as in a whole as a result of it. And I think that they need to sort of like burn it down and rebuild it. So I'm sort of like, in my mind, I'm taking the lead with this.
Mm.
I had thousands and thousands of items up as a buy it now, and I spoke to my consigners one at a time, and we're still doing it. We're actually in the middle of it. And by the time this airs, my whole eBay store might be down.
Wow.
And we're basically just giving people the option: you want to run it, we can run it. You want to run it protected, but it's going to go down 10% each time. And that way, within 3-4 weeks, we're done with the card and we're done with the item. And we're just not holding inventory forever at ridiculous prices, and it's just never going to sell.
So I'm starting to warm up to this idea. I said it was tough at first because I was thinking about how 2 PSA 10s could still look different. Like the centering could be different, one could be faded, one could be old when grading wasn't as tough as it is now. But to the point you're making, like if it's time bound and you say, hey, after a year, or I love your strategy, if it's, hey, it's just going to go down 10% each time. I think, yeah, I'm warming up to this idea. Yeah.
And then listen,
like that.
if you start something with a protected price, $1,000, doesn't mean that it still can't sell for $1,300 if 2
Right.
people want it.
Mhm.
But the nonsense of having something sit there with 3 times the price value, with straight buy now or buy now best offer, there's just too much stuff out there. You're talking about tens of thousands of cards with overinflated prices.
Yeah.
And it just clogs up, and people just, they're just tired of searching. They don't want to waste their
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, it's a
They
less
want to
efficient
just,
marketplace when you do that.
yeah. So, I'm sort of taking the lead with it on my eBay's aware that I'm doing it. And they understand, and as long as, my my sales are probably going to increase as a result of it, didn't increase, because we'll have more cards that didn't need to sit there, will now just enter the marketplace properly. And listen, it is what it is, what your card is
Mhm.
worth. You might
Mhm.
want it to be worth something 5x of what it is, but that's not where the marketplace. And there's tons of, just go start doing searches for like Zion Williamson cards, in the store. They're 10x of what they trade for now currently.
Yeah.
So, at some point you just got to lower them because it's just clogging up space on the site.
Mhm.
Interesting. So, Rick, I have one more question. I know LZ has one
Yeah.
more after me that we ask every guest. So my final question for you, you started to get into it and it's fascinating. I'm 43, or a little bit older than me. We've been around a while. We've
A
seen
lot
bubbles.
older than you.
Being nice, but
I'm a
so
grandfather,
Oh yeah.
I'm not there yet, thankfully.
Yeah.
So we've seen recessions, we've seen bubbles, we've lived for a few, right? And you know, we've seen some very interesting, factors get into this modern card. COVID hit, there's this boom, there's speculation. You can't gamble on sports anymore. Here's a way you
Yeah.
can gamble, and so on and so on and so on, right?
Correct.
How do you think the modern card market, all this breaking and all this, overprinting, how do you think this is going to shake out in the next 5 years, 10 years? How do you think this all ends up?
So I think one of the things, we'll just go back for a second. So, you know, I started noticing, I have a lot of guys in my community, that sort of are investment bankers, or they're successful people. And they started all coming to me when the media started showing the prices of these sales. And then a lot of them got involved in the industry. So I would say that out of, let's say there was we'll make an easy number, 100 new people who entered our industry that could buy a card for $100,000 or more, and it wasn't going to affect their mood, right? I think 90% of them lost money during we'll call it 2021 to 2023, when they tried to exit after they made a purchase. You have guys that have bought Justin Herbert's, NFL Shield for $1.8 million. That card's not going to sell for over $1 million. So it's not going to sell for over $500,000, I think we lost a lot of those people. The ones that we kept, I think, have wisened up in terms of, getting more information, better information in terms of safer places to keep their money. The Mickey Mantles, the Babe Ruths, the Ty Cobbs, the Jim Browns, going back, Bill Russell, all that kind of stuff. So I think that a lot of those people that are still in it are going back. But in general, I think that people have sort of seen the error of their ways. And people have to, listen, breaking cards and breaking boxes and joining breaks, it is a form of gambling, and it's dangerous. And there are people that I think actually might have real addictions to this. And it's very, very dangerous. But there are people that are collecting, and if you're really collecting and you don't care about the value, that's fine. But I don't believe all these people that basically are sort of telling you, "Oh, I'm a collector," and you're not really an investor. I do believe that the majority of the people that are in the space are investing in things that they like, and they are doing it as an investment, as the primary reason, more so than collecting. Collectors will just, I don't mind overpaying for something I need, and I know that if I ever want to resell it, it'll sell for less money, but I don't care because I need it for my collection. I don't think that there's a lot of people in our industry in general that have that mindset. I think people are collecting so many different things that there's enough to keep everybody happy, and they'll wait and they'll buy things when they're appropriately priced. That collector who's just willing to pay 2-3 times, because they happen to need that one thing. I don't think that there's a lot of those people in our industry anymore.
Just the weirdos like me that need to finish autograph sets.
No, but even so, let's take you as an example.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say how many guys do you need for your 69 set?
4 more.
4 more. Okay. But you're also collecting other things.
Of course.
So you're not going to, just because one of those 4 comes up and it goes for a crazy, crazy, crazy price, you're still of the mindset that, and 69 autograph cards, they do exist. So it's not like you're only dealing with a population of less than 5, where if you don't get it, you're done, right? There are 10 or 20 of most of these cards out there in existence, some of them more. So you're not of the mindset where you're just going to bid to the moon if one of them does come up, because you're also collecting other things that sort of satiate you.
Right.
If you're only collecting that, and that was your thing, and that was only your thing. But what I have found is that most people who are collecting, we're all collecting 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 different things that we're involved with. And, if we don't get our price in one area, we'll sort of wait it out until we can get it, at the right time.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Spot on.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. Rick, all right. So to finish it up, we do have one question.
You guys didn't ask me any tough questions, by the way. I come on these places sometimes and they're just like, so tell us about shill bidding.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you want to go there, we can, but we're genuinely interested in your thoughts on other things. So
yeah.
I can reply to all this kind of stuff. So.
No, good. So we ask every guest if you could have coffee with any sports figure, deceased or living, who would it be and why?
Coffee. Can I have a beer with them instead of
Sure.
coffee?
sure.
Definitely have a beer. Yes.
You would sit down for a couple hours.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm the people that I'm most invested in collecting is probably the people, and they're all in that group. So we're talking about, and this is where the majority of my portfolio is, with Michael Jordan, we have Tom Brady, we have Mickey Mantle, We have Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, you know, those kind of guys. If I could sit down and chill with any of those guys, it'd be all good. I don't have one specific guy who's like my favorite, but I'm heavily invested in those kind of guys. So any of those guys would be good.
Okay.
You
Well,
imagine having a beer with
don't
Ty Cobb?
Wayne
That'd be
Gretzky in
crazy.
there too.
Oh, Wayne Gretzky. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say don't choose Tom Brady because if you choose him, it's only gonna be like a 1 minute sit down. Because if you've seen him chug a beer before,
He can throw it down.
oh, you got it. Yes, he absolutely can. He can chug a beer in like 4 seconds.
Have you seen me chug a beer?
No, I have not. You might need to.
Yeah, I can handle myself.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Maybe you'll have to challenge Tom Brady. Might have to do that.
we might have
Yeah.
we might have to have you back to chug beers. We have a cousin Eddie that comes to the pod sometimes, and we'll see who's faster. That'd be pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Have you ever done? We used to call it around the world, which was like a shot of beer a minute for an hour. Have you ever done it?
Oh,
So
yeah,
I-
a power hour.
Yeah,
Power hour.
power.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
used to
Power
call it. We called it around the world. You know,
I
Mhm.
always
back in-
cheated, Rick. I was in a fraternity and I was the only, I don't know, I was one of the smarter people in the fraternity. And I'd go leave the room, I'd fill it with water. You know, I just could not do that. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like I can do things like that. So that's like my training.
Okay. All right. We're
Oh,
learning a
boy.
lot about Rick today.
I think it's the UMass in UMass because I can feel it. Yeah. Was there too.
No, I played football there. So we were
Oh.
like, you know,
Okay.
I was a kid.
yeah.
I was a kicker. I was not a linebacker or anything like
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Rick, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. I guess I'm sorry we didn't hit you with hard enough questions. We'll have to maybe
We'll do a
have
part
to
two.
No,
have-
you're gonna.
Yeah, I'll
The
have
only
to
thing
do-
is you're gonna get pushback. They're like, why didn't you ask him about this? Why didn't you ask him about that? You know that you're
That's
you're
fine.
the pushback's
That's
gonna be
fine.
on you, not on
Okay.
me. You know, so it's all good.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I guess for the audience, the people maybe who don't know you, I'm sure a lot of people do, but for people who don't, how can they follow you? How can they get in touch with you? How can they use your services?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. So on Instagram, we're Probstein Auctions. I have close to a little over almost 50,000 followers. On eBay, I have 114,000 followers. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of there. And you can just literally just do a Google search of me and you'll be able to get a hold of me in like 3 minutes. I'm pretty
Yes.
accessible.
Yes. He's a good follow, everybody. Make sure you follow Rick.
I
He's got some
agree.
great stories.
You'll see some cool
Appreciate it.
stuff.
Yeah, you will.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you,
Well,
Rick.
thanks so much, Rick.
Okay, and stay in touch, guys. I like you
All right.
guys, and you know, I'm glad you guys are doing this kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
All right. Bye.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Thanks a lot.